Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Cultural Foodways RFA. The Sovereign Equity Fund is the sister organization of the Native American Agriculture Fund, designed to accelerate investments into Indian country agriculture and food systems. Before we get started today, we would like to hear a little bit more from you. So please tell us what organization you're representing today. If you would go ahead and type in the chat, where are you from? Are you affiliated with a TCU, a 501c3, or a tribal nation? And what comes to your mind whenever you hear the term cultural foodways?
Thank you, folks, for joining. We're going to sit here on the side for the next few minutes to allow others to come in, but we already have 3 of you. We're very happy you're here. If you'd like, please talk to us in the chat. I'll start. I'm calling in from Palo Alto, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I am from the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina, working for the Native American Agriculture Fund. Yeah, so if you want to tell us where you're from, you can do so in the chat. Okay, thank you for joining. We're just going to wait 1 more minute. We know we have some folks signed up and that they're probably joining. We'll get started in just a moment. While you're here, feel free to use the chat and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, who you're affiliated with, and what comes to mind when you hear Cultural Foodways. Last time we had a few issues with the chat, so if it's not working for you, you can use the Q&A function to let us know. Otherwise, I'll send that. We're all just a little quiet today. Okay, we had a few people join after we did the introduction. Gabby, do you mind doing the introduction once again?
For sure.
Okay, and we have some information that says the chat is disabled. Gabby will figure that out for us.
Yes, I am trying to figure it out. Just give me 1 second.
But in the meantime, we have a welcome from John. John Christopherson is from Sisseton-Wahpeton College, and Cultural Foodways to them means to develop food systems for all people to access food. Thank you, John. And thank you to the anonymous attendees who told us that the chat was delayed.
I went ahead and fixed it. See if you guys can chat now.
Thank you, Gabby. It's always a little bit getting used to it. I'll chat to everyone. Hello. Okay, now that we have the chat going, Gabby, do you mind giving us that intro once again?
For sure. So thank you again for joining the Cultural Foodways RFA. The Sovereign Equity Fund is a sister organization of the Native American Agriculture Fund. Before we get started today, though, we would like to hear from you. So where are you from? Are you affiliated with a TCU, a 501c3, or a tribal nation? And what comes to your mind whenever you hear the phrase cultural foodways? We're just going to wait a couple more minutes while more people are hopping on. So if you want to type that in the chat now, feel free to do so.
All right, thank you for those who are being active in the Q&A. Okay, Gabby, I think we can proceed.
All right. So hello again, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Butter. I am the Associate Communications Officer of the Native American Agriculture Fund. I'm joined here today with my colleague, Carly Moore, who's a graduate student at Stanford University and a consultant at NAV. Hello, Tanya. Nice to meet you. Before we get started, I do want to explain a little bit more on how to use the Zoom webinar. So first, if you have any questions, we ask that you submit them using the Q&A feature or ask them using the chat box now that it's working. We will try to answer all of your questions in the time allotted, but if we don't get to your question, we will be updating the FAQ section on the Sovereign Equities Fund website. We also ask that if you have any additional questions you don't get to ask here today, go ahead and email us at grants@sovereignequityfund.org. And again, if you experience any technical issues throughout the meeting, please describe your issue in the chat box and I will watch for those. So finally, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Carly to start off the Cultural Foodways RFA webinar.
Thank you, Gabby. Again, we're glad to have you here. It looks like we have 9 attendees from what I can see, and we're really thankful that you take this time to be with us. I'm just going to take the next 10 or 15 minutes or so to walk you through the Cultural Foodways Fund and the funding opportunity available to TCUs. And then we can transition to questions and anything that might be helpful for you as you consider this and hopefully apply. As we're going, please put those questions in the Q&A or the chat, and I'll try to address them real time so that we don't have anything lingering. The first thing we want to do is situate the Cultural Foodways Fund. This is a new funding opportunity created in partnership between the Mellon Foundation and the Native American Agriculture Fund. The Mellon Foundation is a national organization focused on promoting the arts and humanities in our society. And the Native American Agriculture Fund is a grant-making organization dedicated to supporting Native farmers and ranchers in their agricultural pursuits. Together, they're interested in Native foodways and how we support the very important work that tribal colleges and universities are doing across the nation to foster and engage community around cultural foodways. Next. So the overview of this funding opportunity. This is an opportunity open exclusively to tribal colleges and universities or a TCU-led 501c3 foundation. While other organizations are not eligible to apply as the main applicant, they may certainly partner with the TCU to make a project happen. The broad definition of cultural foodways is arts and humanities and native agriculture and food systems. We'll talk a little bit more about examples, but I want to stray away from being too definitive because this is open for you to interpret. Basically, we're interested in all the aspects of food and agriculture that are not strictly economic or health. We eat because we need to live. We grow food in part to sell, but we know there's so much beyond those two things. And that's what we're interested in supporting through this opportunity. The language, the ceremonies, the traditions, the stories that are associated with our food and agriculture. Finally, the funding opportunity is $200,000 over a period of 2 years. We're looking for applications that are as close to that mark as possible. And this is an investment into doing this work in the way that makes sense for your TCU and your community. Next. Okay, a little more on cultural foodways. This opportunity seeks to expand knowledge of the arts and humanities of Native food systems. We want to promote the study, practice, and recognition of Indigenous food and agriculture knowledge at TCUs. A broad definition that we hope that you'll tell us more in the chat of what cultural foodways means to you. Arts and humanities are really expansive and cover lots of traditional academic disciplines, but also the knowledge that is widespread and hard to categorize that exists in our communities with our elders and with our cultural keepers. Next. I want to tell you a little bit about the evaluation criteria for the grant in the hopes that this will help you understand what we're looking for and what you may bring out in your narrative. There are 6 points that we're interested in. The first is a vision of the project. What is your vision for the arts and humanities of Native foodways? What do you want to see happen in your community or communities that you intend to work with? What story do you want to see told, or what capacity do you want to see built? What is the broad overview? Paint us a picture of the landscape of Native food and agriculture, arts and humanities. The second point is contribution. In that broad landscape, that picture that you paint for us, what part will you be responsible for? What contribution do you hope to make over the next 2 years to enabling this vision to come true? The contribution is also things that are tangible or intangible that you can point to as a deliverable. For example, maybe you'll create a film to enshrine the stories of your elders, or maybe you'll create a podcast to talk to artists about how they use corn in their art. Or maybe you'll host a series of events to bring youth in so that they can understand more about how language connects to agriculture. These are just different examples of how your contribution can be part of the overall vision. The third point of evaluation is plan. So you have a vision, a picture of where you want to be. You've outlined your contribution to this picture. Now tell us what the plan is to make sure that this happens. We know that plans are our best estimation and that plans always need to be adjusted, but we think that it helps to start with a plan, and so we'd like to see your plan. The next point is team. Who's going to be part of this collage of people who are painting the vision and who are making the contribution? The project needs to be led by a TCU or a TCU-led foundation. And so critical members of the team will be folks who are employed by or report to that TCU, but they can also include partners from the broader community, from the tribal nation, from other 501c3s, or even individuals who are acting in their capacity to further your contribution. The fifth point we want to talk about is longevity. We talked about this vision being paint us the future of Native agriculture, arts, and humanities. And we know that over 2 years and with $200,000, you can only do so much. You're going to make a contribution to that, but you can't realize the whole thing in that time span. So longevity is, tell us about the plans after 2 years. What do you hope will be true after 2 years? And how are you working towards that? And then the final point, evaluation criteria, is evaluation. As we said, a plan is helpful to get started, but it must always continually be tweaked and perfected. And then you also want to understand what impact you're having and if your contribution is actually bringing you towards the vision. There are lots of evaluation techniques and methods, and many that stem from indigenous knowledges. And so we encourage you to think about which ones work for you and to tell us a bit about how you plan to evaluate your project. Next, please. This is just another illustration of how these evaluation criteria work together. In our estimation, it comes with a team. It starts with who's on the team, because the people who are on the team are the ones that are going to outline the vision, the objectives that you hope to achieve. And then those people will put together a plan that leads to your contribution, your outputs or outcomes. And then the longevity and evaluation piece are something that run alongside as a second stream. Next, please. Again, please put any questions you may have in the chat. No question is too big or too. All right, so what's in this application that we're talking about? We've worked really hard to try to streamline this application because we know that you're busy and that you have a lot of things on your plate, especially now as we're wrapping up the school year. We try to cut it down to the things that really matter, and those are eligibility information. As we said, this opportunity is open exclusively to tribal colleges and universities. So we ask you to tell us which tribal college or university you are and to give us some supporting information to document that. Next, we ask you geographic information that's about demographics of your area. This is not used in the evaluation of your project. It just helps us understand the context in which you're working in. Finally, the proposal, which is the evaluative part of the application. Excuse me. The proposal includes a work plan, as we discussed earlier. A work plan looks like, okay, I have 24 months to do this project. What am I going to do over the what am I going to do over the first 3 months, the next 3 months, and so on and so forth. A narrative is, tell us the story of your project so that we understand what your vision is and what your contribution will be. And then finally, the budget information. As we said, it's $200,000 over the next 2 years. We have a budget template that we want you to use, and you can tell us how much of that is going to go to personnel, how much to direct costs, how much to intermediary, and how much to indirect. We'll talk a bit more about budget in a moment. Some other information to help us do our due diligence is to tell us about your governing body, to let us know who's in charge of your institution. Provide us with some financial information so that we can ensure the safe stewardship of these monies. And then finally, a cover letter from the person who has the authority to sign the grant agreement, letting us know that if you are selected, that your institution supports this work. Next. Okay, back to the budget. Some important information to consider. The Sovereign Equity Fund has an indirect limit of 15% with no exceptions. We hope that this will be well suited to allow you to build capacity and do this work, but also see the majority of the funds directed into the cultural foodways aspect. Applicants must follow the budget guidelines and the required templates, which are available on the website, and we'll preview how to get there in a bit. And then applicants are encouraged to create a budget as close to $200,000 as possible. That's the budget that we have for you, and so we would hate to see any money left on the table. Next, please. Okay, here's some screenshots from the budget template and a sample budget to kind of understand what might go in here. You've dealt with many budgets before, so I won't belabor this point. You can find this on the website as well. I want to go over briefly the categories that we have in our budget so that you understand that this is a broad opportunity to cover almost anything that you could think of in terms of cultural foodways. So first we have personnel costs, and these are people who are employed by the main applicant. So that would be the people employed by the TCU. And you can certainly write their salary into this project over the first and second year. I also want to point out that it says the grant starts 9/1/2023. Every budget can be created with those assumptions in mind, that you will be able to start spending money on September 1st of 2023. The next category is direct costs, and there are a number of sub items under that. First is events. These are events that you plan or events that you attend, and all the different costs that are associated with events. For example, you see here tent, tables, chairs, AV rental, appetizers, facility rental, catered dinner. These are all allowable. Food is allowable as long as it goes to the heart of the event. And in the way that we've built this budget, it would be. The second sub item under direct costs is travel. Travel for you to get around and to do your work. We know that lots of Native communities are located in more isolated areas. It takes a long ways to get where you need to go, and travel may be a significant part of your budget. We have supplies, and we have equipment / capital expenditure. The difference here between supplies and equipment, supplies are anything that one item is up to $5,000. That's something that will be consumed in the course of your project. For example, a camera, you need that camera to do your work, or you need a laptop to do the editing. Equipment is something greater than $5,000. For example, let's say you wanted to build a greenhouse so that you could host events and talk to youth and other community members about traditional ways of growing food in the context of a greenhouse. That would likely be more than $5,000 and would go under equipment. Next, we have contract / consultant. Here's where you could bring in outside expertise to help with technical tasks of your project, or where you could write in a sub-award to another organization. I mentioned earlier that you have to be a TCU to be the lead applicant, but you can have partners, and those partners could have a contract. Stipend and honoraria, we made this a special sub item because we know that cultural foodways work relies on the knowledge from our culture keepers, our elders, and those who are on the ground doing the work. And they're not always employed in the way that compensates them for that knowledge. And so we encourage you to fairly and adequately compensate them for the work they do in your project through a stipend or honoraria. You can also use stipends for interns or fellowships or other short-term employment situations. Printing and publications is another option. And then, of course, we have an other area for anything that we didn't think of but that you need. Intermediary funds is another category that you can apply for. Intermediary funds are re-grants or scholarships. They are things that you'll have a process that'll be open to a eligible class to apply and to receive funds from you. So you can think about how you would like to incorporate intermediary funds if you'd like. And then finally, the indirect costs, which are 15% of personnel and direct funds. Okay, we can stay here if there's any questions, but if not, then we'll continue on. When we first announced this opportunity, it lined up with the Native American Agriculture's announcement, which is April 1st to June 1st. But what we heard in the meantime is that tribal colleges are having a tough time investigating and filling out the application so close to the end of the semester. So we've decided to extend the deadline to July 1st to give you more time to hear about this, to think about it, to gather with your colleagues, and to put in an application. We hope that extra time will be helpful. The deadline is July 1st, and we need to stick to that in order to make sure that your projects start with the new school year in the fall. Next. Okay, we just want to give you a little preview of what it looks like. So when you go to our website, which we will do in just a moment, you're going to click on the button that says Apply Now, and it'll bring you to this home page. This is the Sovereign Equity Fund's Found It page. Found It is an online software that facilitates grant making. If you've had any interactions with the Native American Agriculture Fund over the past 5 years, you'll be familiar with the system. But one thing to note is that this is a separate account, so everyone needs to create a new account. Sometimes it can be complicated to figure out who should create the account to start the application. And we understand that there's different institutional arrangements at each TCU. What we encourage you to do is to start an account early. And then if we find out that the person who started the account needs to transfer it to someone else, that's an easy administrative task for us to do. But it behooves you to create a new account anyway and go ahead and get started. You won't lose any of your process if we need to transfer it to someone else later. Next. Once you've created an account and register or log in, this is what your applicant dashboard will look like. And then you'll be able to click apply and you'll find the Cultural Foodways 2023 request for applications. Once you have an active request on your dashboard, you'll be able to go in and edit it. It is automatically saving. We do encourage you to write your narrative and the big chunks of text in a word processing software like Microsoft Word or Google Docs so that you have it backed up. But as you put things into the Found It system, it saves every 10 seconds. Next. Okay, so here's the part where we take you to our website and help you navigate around. We'll sit here just a moment in case you want to scan the QR code, but you can also see the URL listed here. It's sovereignequityfund.org, and once you get there, we'll just click on Cultural Foodways Fund. Okay, Gabby, can you navigate us to the website so that we can show them what resources are there?
Sorry, I realized I was muted. Just one moment, please.
Any questions that are coming up for y'all, please put them in the Q&A or the chat. We really want to make sure that we're covering what's important to you. Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Let's go here. Do you have a word count or a page requirement or limit? Great question. We do have a guidance, which is that your narrative should be 1 to 2 pages. In the system, it will tell you how many characters that is. We don't want you to have to belabor the point. So if you can tell us exactly what you want to do in 1 page, then we're happy to have that. But you'll have the opportunity to share 1 to 2 pages. Okay, here we are on the website. Thank you, Gabby. We just want to show you what's available here. Hopefully resources that'll help make this process smooth. As I said, To get to the online application system, you have to come to this website and then click apply now. Do us a favor, Gabby, show us what happens when you click apply now. It opens up a new tab to the Sovereign Equity Fund's online portal, and then that's where you can create a new account or return to your account with your email address and password. Thank you, Gabby. We'll go back to the main website. All the applications must come through that portal, so it's advantageous for you to start your account early. All right, we have a short introduction, and then we have a note on eligibility. The official list of TCUs maintained by the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. If you have any questions about whether your organization is on that list or it's not on that list, please reach out to us. Reach out to us early. We want to be inclusive of everybody who should be included in the definition of tribal colleges and universities. The opportunity is $200,000 over the next 24 months. And we want to include work, if you scroll just up just a bit. Okay, and we want to include work that addresses the traditions, ceremonies, cuisines, language, art, storytelling, cosmologies, belief systems, customs, and ways of being intertwined with Indigenous foodways. Okay. Here are a list of downloads, resources that are available to you. The most important one to start with is the RFA overview. This is a 4-page document that gives you the nitty-gritty about how the application works. The second one is the question list, which shows you exactly which questions are included in the online system. This is really helpful if you need to download it and send it to your team. You don't have to share your password around. You can just send them the list of questions. We also have some FAQs for things that have come up in the past, and we can keep updating those as we get new questions. We have budget guidelines that you should reference to understand how best to build out your budget. We do ask that you use our budget template that you saw screenshots from before. Those screenshots were from the sample budget linked here, and each budget will be accompanied by a narrative. So in the Excel, you're going to put your line item and your number. In the narrative, you get to add words as to why this is important, why I need to travel X amount per month to do my project. And then finally, we have an application tutorial. If you have any trouble using the system, you can let us know. Okay, so John has a question in the chat that we'll pause and take. It says, I'm looking for some kitchen equipment for this project. Is kitchen equipment allowable? Yes, equipment is allowable. And as long as you make a compelling case as to why this kitchen equipment is important for your cultural foodways project, then it certainly would be. Yeah, let us know if you have any follow-up questions. We just want to make sure that if you're buying equipment that will be a major investment, that you have plans to utilize that in teaching or outreach or some other way of interacting with the community. Thank you for your question, and please keep putting more. Okay, the checklist we went over before, so that just helps you know what parts of the application are. If we continue on, you are on our 3rd webinar, and we thank you for being here. We've already had 2 more. If you scroll down, Gabby. Okay, we had 2 before this, and you can see the recordings of those listed. We have 1 more webinar coming up. Since we extended the deadline to July 1st, we know that there might be some folks who hear about us a little later. Our last webinar is scheduled for Monday, June 5th at 2 to 3 p.m. Central. Do note it is different than Tuesday. We had to make a switch for scheduling, but we will be here on Monday, June 5th at 2 p.m. Central to talk once again about the Cultural Foodways Fund. If you have colleagues who didn't get to make it and they would like to attend live, you can tell them to join us then. They can also watch the recording of this or any other webinar on the website. If we scroll down a bit, you can see how to find those on YouTube. Okay. All right, that's what we wanted to show you. The deadline has been extended. The new deadline is Saturday, July 1st at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And here's the contact information. You can reach out to us at grants@sovereignequityfund.org. Okay, we have some chats I'm going to take. Okay, if we have existing collaboration with other organizations and want to include them as a contractor under this project, do we need to get a letter of collaboration from them? So we have not made support or collaboration letters required, but there is an optional space in the application where you could include that information. If you're writing them into the budget, then we're going to take your word for it that they're down to do this and they've agreed to what you've stated in the application. But you can only strengthen your application by including that support letter from them. I guess the summarization of that is support letters are optional. But what is required is a cover letter from the leader of your TCU. Okay, because we want to make sure that they're aware and that they're going to support this project over the next 2 years. Okay, we have another question. How many TCUs will be funded? How competitive is the grant? So this is the first time that we're offering this opportunity. So we don't have any historical data on how many people have applied or are interested. We hope that there's wide interest. What I can tell you is that we have funds to make 12 $200,000 grants collectively over the next 2 years. Okay, so we're looking to make 12 grants to TCUs over the next 2 years. How we apportion those 12, how many happen in 2023 versus how many happen in 2024 will be dependent on how many people come to us and apply. What I want to share with you right now is that as of this meeting, we have 1 application in the system. We are really hopeful to have more. That's why I'm really encouraging you to start your application early so that we can know that you're interested. We hope that we'll be able to support everybody who's interested, and we will do our best to go out and to seek more funds so that folks aren't left without. But it is a competitive grant, and we have these evaluation criteria in the RFA overview. You'll see how we intend to engage grant reviewers with experience in this area. We want to make sure that we have competitive applications, projects that are set up for success, and then we'll also work with you to make sure that it comes out the best that it can be for you. So I guess the short answer is apply, and we'll hope to work with everybody. Any other questions that we have? On that note, one thing I want to mention is that the Mellon Foundation was interested in working with the Native American Agriculture Fund for a few reasons. One, because they are interested in developing more relationships with TCUs. They understand the important role that you play in Native communities and in shepherding and stewarding the arts and humanities of our communities. But also they're interested in learning how that they can help build capacity. And so part of the work with us will be partnering alongside our cohort of grantees to understand what challenges and obstacles you are facing and how we as institutional partners might try to alleviate those or create a platform for you to put into action what you know works. Okay, John has a question. Do you accept photos to help describe the project? We certainly do. Just as I mentioned with the support letters, at the end of the application is an optional upload area. And that optional upload area is for you to add anything in a PDF file that we didn't talk about before. So if you want to draw us a map of what you're trying to do, or if you want to include pictures of the kitchen equipment that you're trying to get, or anything that helps us better understand your project, you have a spot you can upload it in the application. And if you have more than can fit in that spot, then you can email us and we'll include that in the packet. Thank you for the question. And I'm excited to hear that Lakota Ojibwe University is interested. We hope to see you in the application. How about anyone else? These are all great questions. Thank you for putting them out there. You can also send us a question anonymously through the Q&A if you prefer that method. Awesome. Thank you, Navajo Technical University. Glad to have you all on board. I want to offer to you what I've offered to folks in the past. Last week, I met with a TCU representative one-on-one through Zoom just to hear what they're thinking and to talk through their questions. I'm offering that to anybody here or not here as well. If you email us at grants@sovereignequityfund.org, we can set up a one-on-one meeting and think about your project. Of course, we need to stay impartial, so we won't be editing any narratives or giving tips or tricks on that, but we can answer questions as well. And then, of course, anything technical like the budget or the uploads for eligibility, we're happy to go over that with you. Fantastic, John. Okay, we'll just take a pause and see if another question comes to mind. I really do thank you for being here. And this webinar is recorded. It will be available online just as soon as Zoom makes it available and we can put it on YouTube. You'll get an email after this that says thank you for attending and has a little information as well. And then please do go ahead and sign up for that final webinar on June 5th, just so you have it. You don't have to attend if you don't want, but it's nice to be registered. Any more questions? I really appreciate the excitement and enthusiasm we have, and for telling us that you intend to apply. That's really helpful for us. You know, this is the first partnership between the Mellon Foundation and the Native American Agriculture Fund, and it's the first grant process that the Sovereign Equity Fund is operating. And so just having an expectation of who's interested is really nice. Go ahead and make your accounts as soon as you can. And like I said, if you find out that, oh, actually I need the account to be the institutional research person, that's a really easy fix for us to make. Okay. Well, we are here. Let's share our contact information. Thank you, Gabby. So email is preferred. We can get back to you in a few business days. Again, reach out, send me some times that you're available. I'll try to put aside 25 minutes or so. We can talk about your application. We can help you through the system. We really want to make this as smooth as possible. Are most of you, your semester is ended? Have you already have graduation? Thank you, Milford. Yes. Okay. So for John, they've already, we have some thumbs up. Okay, excellent. Well, I hope that went really well, and hopefully this can be an exciting time of imagining what can happen in the next 2 school years. Like I said, these funds will be available for you to start your project September 1. So you can think about what's happening then. We are done with the spring semester and getting ready for summer and gardening. Yes, plenty to do. Something that I didn't mention with the budget and the funds, but might be important to you. One, this is private money. This is private money, so it can be used as a match for federal funds. Okay. And if you already have an ongoing grant project or an idea, and you want to use this Cultural Foodways Fund to augment it or to supplement it, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Just talk to us about how that works. And this is private money, so it can be used as a federal match. The second thing I want to note is that we operate on a system of sending you the money in advance so that you can draw down from it. Okay. So let's say you're going to go with the kitchen equipment. In some situations, you have to buy that equipment and then you submit and then we reimburse. That's not how it works with this opportunity. For this opportunity, we'll see your budget and we'll send you the money in advance so that you can go out and make the purchases you need to. Okay, well, congratulations on the school year. I hope you get some much needed rest and relaxation before you jump into all that the summer has to offer. Please do reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And if we don't hear from you, hopefully we'll see your application. And for those of you who are interested, we'll see you here in 2 weeks on Monday, June 5th for the last webinar. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you. Hope you have a great day.